Hello and welcome to colleagues here at Sprint Review for 20.03.01. This will cover the work undertaken between the 3rd of March to the 16th of March. Our sprint goal for this sprint has been to update the recent items area, completing the work that was also delivered against the quick search and lists so that users can define which fields they see when viewing records against any area of the main navigation menu. Looking at the high-level items and to explain further, in this sprint we've been able to update the recent items area so this displays records similar to the quick search and lists. This is with the ability to specify the fields that you want to see and with the option to click on links to generate an email, telephone call or open a web address. We've added the duplication check to the manual creation of a candidate record. This works in a similar way to the CV parser in that you can, as you enter details regarding the record, it will trigger a search in the background against the system to advise if it finds any matches. I'll give a demo on this shortly. We've added the pending emails icon alongside the notifications icon, top right of the UI. This will give a count on the number of emails that are being processed by the background service following a bulk email send. We've resolved an issue whereby you could determine the default document when attaching documents to an interview. We've also sorted this in a couple of other areas as well. We've updated the markers lever feature with the option to copy across GDPR consent to the new contact that has been created. And we've delivered a fix that prevents histories from being duplicated when there are issues with the MS Graph tokens being used by multiple users. We'll now go for a brief demonstration on the key features from this sprint. So the first point to go through is the update that we made to recent items. So this is essentially just to bring recent items in line with all the other updates that we've been making against quick search results and against lists as well. So that is the means now, just as you have against a quick search result, you have the means to be able to select which fields that you see against each entity type and select on, for example, email address to prompt the email form, and you can select on a telephone number to prompt the click to dial, click on a web address and it will open a new tab and open that web address. Against lists, we have that same functionality, so you've got the means to be able to maintain that list in terms of the data that you see. You can view different fields based on what you've selected from the listing options. So within recent items, we've essentially done the same thing. So against this will obviously list all of the items that you have viewed, and it will list them in order of the most recent that you have viewed, and ultimately give you the means to be able to say that you want to see this certain selection of fields against these different entity types. And then when you look at your recent items, you'll see the fields that you want to see. And as it is with the other areas, if you wanted to send an email from this area, you could just click the email form or the email address and it would launch the email form. If you wanted to click on a telephone number, you click on that and it would launch the click to dial functionality if that's set up. Or if you clicked on a web address field, again, opens a new tab, takes you to that web address. So that's the update that's been made as part of this sprint. That essentially means that when searching any records, either through selection screens or recent items, lists, quick search, the output and the way in which you view records from the main navigational menu is now all fully configured in a way so that you can define what you see. So that's the point we wanted to reach to by the end of the quarter. So that's one of our milestones from this quarter's from the roadmap. But that's the main update we made there. The next point to cover is the update that's been made when you're manually creating a candidate record and the fact that it now performs a duplication check. So when you are parsing, or previously when you've been using the CV parser, there's always been a duplication check in place that's been looking at the surname, the forename, the email addresses and the telephone numbers associated with the record and looking across the system to see if there are any matching candidates in relation to what you've just parsed, and then it would advise the number of duplicates found. That's obviously in place with the CV parser, but it's not been in place when you've been manually creating a candidate record, and that's what we've done in the sprint here. So how this works, ultimately, as you're adding in details in relation to the candidate record that you're creating, it's going to be performing a duplication check based on those details in the background, and then it's going to present you a number or this magnifying glass and a number advising the number of duplicates found based on the details you've entered. If you choose to ignore the duplication found number there and just hit save, you're going to get a prompt to advise that you've got some potential duplicates and to essentially review those before clicking save again. However, if you have checked those and hidden them, then there's a check in the background that kind of acknowledges that you've checked those duplicates, and you can now proceed to hit and save. And then from there onwards, it will create the record. So that's the duplication check that's been added to the candidate form when you're creating a new candidate. At the moment, this is only against candidates. We do plan on adding it for company and contact as well, though that will come in separate PBIs in different sprints. Yeah, as far as the functionality in this sprint, it's the duplication check when you're manually creating a candidate record. The next point to go through is the update that we've made with regards to informing the user about emails that are pending in the background service. So this is when you're bulk sending an email, mainly from a search result, but there are other scenarios where you obviously can send to more than one person from the email form. And when that happens, ultimately it's processed within the background service in a queue rather than being sent immediately at that point. That's for when you're sending individual emails. So if you, for this example, if we select these records and we look to email them, I'll just send a test email, and off that goes. What you're given is a confirmation alert that you're basically advising that your emails are now in a queue and will be processed shortly. So previously, that was as much a confirmation as you would get until the emails were actually sent, and then you would receive a notification advising that the emails have gone. Whereas now, what you'll get as you navigate around the system is this icon that appears top right, which basically advises that there's emails being processed within the background service in relation to your user. And what you'll see is you'll have a count there, and you'll see that that number essentially decrease as it's processing through the emails that you receive. And when it gets to the point where it's got no more emails to process, this icon will disappear, and you'll receive that notification which confirms that your emails have been processed. So that's the main update that's been made as part of this sprint. So you've basically got a pending count on the emails that have been processed by the background service when you send in bulk. The last point to cover is just the update that's been made to the markers lever function against the contacts record, and that is that you can now choose if you wish to copy over the GDPR consent that you've received from that contact. So if you go to against contact, if you go to view more and markers lever and select yes, what you'll see here is an option here for copy GDPR consent. Obviously you can hit copy all and it will include everything, but ultimately if you select to copy GDPR consent, then as it creates a new contact record, the consent information that you have with regards to that individual is copied over to that new contact record, and that's the update we made there. As always, if you have any queries or feedback, please get in touch. I'll be keen to hear from you. Also, for those using Colleague 7, feel free to submit your enhancement requests via the support team or directly to me using the above email address. The next video will be the sprint plan for 20.03.02, and as always that will contain a high-level overview on the items we intend to work on during that sprint. Thanks for watching.